everyone, it's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Psych Club and also my other channel, the Tom Numbers Show. So I have Megan Rose with me. Megan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to we can finally do this.
I know it's been, as with all great things, it takes a lot of preparation and thought, etc. So the time is right now. So it's just great to have you on the show. And I'll say it now and at the end, but if people want to follow Megan on her channel, just look up Megan Rose on YouTube and go and subscribe to all of her stuff. So, all right, Megan. Yeah. So let's see, where should we begin? Do you want to tell everyone about your book briefly, and then maybe we can go into some other things? Yeah.
Yeah, so my book is called Welcome to the Future, and it's kind of like the Great Awakening material, but it really starts with my alien abduction and my ET contact and the information that I got from him, which is basically about the galactic war that planet Earth has been in, and basically the release of new technology and our new world. So, and the letter 17. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So exciting.
You know what? This will go out a few days later, but I'll share it. So We're recording this right now on President Trump's birthday on June 14th, 2022. And I got this shared with me. I'm always open to the numbers because I get a lot, but people like to share them with me. So Charlie via Jason sent this, I believe. Well, that's how I got it. And so if you just do 14, 6, 20, 22. So if you break down the digits into the numbers into just single figures, you do 1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 actually comes to 17. So that's pretty cool. So,
and guess what? And you wanted to do tomorrow, which would be Wednesday. And I was like, no, can you do the 14th? So that's crazy.
There you go. So you knew, you sensed it. Yeah. And the other thing that's really cool about this is we were just talking off camera just before we started recording, and Megan was saying, what you've been up to. I was like, well, I just got back from a trip to Holland just for probably less than 30 hours in reality. I did an event with Huna Flash, which was great. And then talking about travel. And so last year I was in Florida briefly in November, and I went to Mar-a-Lago, went to President Trump's home for just an afternoon, which was great. And he's got this wonderful painting in his library bar, and library is 85, which is awakening, which is storm and silver, and bar is 21, but that comes to 106, comes to red pilling. Anyway, I looked at it, and the title of the painting is The Visionary, and the Visionary is 165. And today, the day that you said, no, we should do it today, Tom, 165 is today. So the 165th day of the year is today, which is President's birthday as well, which is resurrection, which is remote viewing, which is the Visionary. So it seems appropriate that we do this today, even though people will view this in a few days. So, there we go. Yeah.
And my book, I released my book in November last year.
What day?
Oh gosh, I don't know the exact. It's either November 5th or November 7th. I don't remember.
Well, November 5th is really significant because if you do the numbers, simple gematria. So those that are new to what Tom Numbers does is A is 1 because the first letter, B is 2, second letter C is 3, all the way through to Z 26. So if you don't do November 5th, it comes to 143. And 143 is ground zero, building 7, Melania Trump, cousin Paul, my cousin. Sorry, Paul Bushnell, I should say, and he's a big part of the numbers for me. People on my channel will know that. But November 5th, and I'm a big fan of Back to the Future because you have to travel at 88 miles per hour to time travel. Yeah. Time travel was 125, John Kennedy, 88 is Trump. So they put that in the film. And but November 5th is the day that Doc Brown invented time travel. So if that's when your book came out, right, Megan, then that seems to be appropriate.
My book is called Welcome to the Future.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And I
And
think
it talks about the time, sort of like the time travel technology used to create the letter 17.
wow. Can you
I'll
tell
have
us
to
more?
check. I'll have to
Yeah.
check because I don't think it was the 7th. I think it was the 5th. So I'll have to check for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And if it was the 7th, that's pretty cool, because 7th is 93, which is Flotus, which is Melania. My last name Bushnell is 93. Kingship is 93. So that's it's a cool number as well. But I'm just looking at this. So welcome. Oh, this is really cool. This is appropriate. So you picked the right day, Megan. So welcome is 76. President Trump is 76 today on the 14th of June. And welcome is Thomas. It's contact, contact with people, but contact with other kind of, higher beings, aliens, and etc. And if you do welcome to, welcome to is 111, perfection. The is 144, digital soldier, takes it to that. And then future is 91, which is POTUS, which is Space Force, which is 235, which is President John Kennedy, or magic power time travel. So there you go.
What? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I put, in my book, it ends with JFK's his inaugural address.
Wow. There you go. Wow.
Oh, so
yeah.
cool.
Welcome to the future, President John Kennedy. Magic power time travel, yeah.
The letter 17, like what's that saying that they say, like how many coincidences are mathematically impossible?
Yeah.
So how many coincidences do we just have there?
Exactly. That's it. And that's the magic of, I guess, where we're going with the higher dimensions and higher beings and the work you do and the numbers and the coincidence. It all maps out. It's brilliant. It's amazing. How many, can you remember how many pages you have in your book?
It was, so I did this on purpose. It's 76 pages.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, 76 is President Trump's birthday today, 76. And the first word of your book, welcome, is 76.
Wow. It's funny, like I originally released my book and it was like 81 pages, and then I edited it, like I took 4 pages out of like the beginning, and then that made it 76. And I was like, that feels better. Feels right.
Yeah, you got it right. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Like, I like this. It's cool.
Yeah, it's good because that's all the secret. That's how it works,
Yeah.
And even your name, so Rose is 57, which is Tesla, which is George, which is Gemini. President Trump is a Gemini, and JFK was a Gemini, or is a Gemini as well. End of May, and tonight you probably know this, but there's the super moon, the strawberry moon, which is, and moon is 56, and it's President Trump's birthday. Birthday is 87, which is truth, which is stellar. So it makes me, think of beyond this earth plane. But the word birth is 57, which is also the word for Rose, which is the word for Tesla, which is the word for George. And I worked this one out. So if you do the full strawberry supermoon comes to 369, the Tesla numbers.
Oh, wow.
That's tonight. So I think after we do the show, I'm going to go out and get on a hill, out in Primrose Hill, look over London and find the moon, and it'll find me, and just see, because it's supposed to be magnificent tonight. So yeah.
In my book, I talk about the release of patents, which was the Tesla technology that was suppressed. Yeah, that's so cool.
6,000 of them, isn't it, roughly?
What's that?
About 6,000 of them, isn't it, supposedly?
I've heard that number before, 6,000 patents. Yeah, I've heard that number before, but I know Tesla's technology was actually extraterrestrial technology that was given to us. So, but of course, like the malevolent ETs and the you-know-who's, the bad humans, obviously suppressed it because they wanted to enslave us. But yeah, very cool.
That's the technologies, yeah. I can't wait till they're fully accessible. Yeah. Any news on that? Any downloads on that? On like when we're going to see more of that?
I never get time frames. I know that deals have been made with corporations to produce the technology, but I imagine, like, just logically speaking, it's not going to happen until the Alliance finishes dismantling the cabal. So, you know, it's probably not, you know, I've been asked before, like, when will med beds come out? It's probably not going to be this year. Like, you know, if you can just look around where we are in the world, it's not going to happen this year. I don't know. I never get a time frame, but hopefully it will be, you know, sooner rather than later. Like less than 10 years would be nice, but I never get time frames from my contact. Just that it's happening.
Please, hopefully less than 10 years. Yeah, please.
Well, you want to overshoot, you know, but I think, like, this is just my personal opinion, like whether you're a psychic, whether you have contact with ETs, like I have a nursing background. So I think, in my opinion, it's ethically wrong to predict, or ethically wrong to say this is when med beds are coming out. If you don't have the hard proof, like you haven't been to the facility and seen it for yourself, because there are people that are dying, like waiting for a med bed. There's people who are 28 years old and have 3 kids in stage 4 cancer that are waiting for a med bed. So I think, like, it's ethically wrong, and benevolent ETs and the military, they don't ever release like, hey, we're going to do this at this time. Like, that's not, do you know what I mean? That's not how the military is. So unfortunately, but I mean, I'd love to get myself in a med bed too, you know?
I know, we'd all love to.
I've got some back pain that could be relieved.
Did you say back pain?
Back pain, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, that's interesting. So let me just double check this one. So, so back pain comes to reset, exchange reset, because back is 17, pain is 40. Yeah, maybe they can exchange the back pain for totally pain free. That would be awesome. That would be really good. You know what? I think I did this a while ago, but I just I'll share it with you anyway, Megan. So Megan Rose Medium, is that okay to say that? I think you might have purchased it at one point, but so Medium is 65. Megan Rose comes to 97, which comes to Kennedy's. Plus 65, so Megan Rose Medium comes to 162, and I don't have a book yet. People are saying do a book, so you've been leading the way on that, so I might follow and do a book at some stage. But I do have a product that teaches people to do the numbers, and it's called Trumpology, and Trumpology comes to 162, which comes to Megan Rose Medium. So it's like, there's a nice another little connection there. Yeah.
My mediumship business, like my website, is meganrosemedium.com. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So people can find you there as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and my Patreon channel, Megan Rose, patreon.com/Megan Rose Medium. So yeah, I have used that name before. But you should write a book. Were you like good at math as a kid? Or do you have like a mathematical mind, but the math we learn here is not real math. It's like a bunch of crap.
Yeah, so I've wondered that. So I wouldn't say I'm a great mathematician, because the key to it, I think you will understand this. So the numbers are kind of a reference point, a building block that you can kind of frame and hang things along and make connections. But the way I do it, I never go looking for numbers. I just get I get a thought, I get an intuition, I get a feeling on, and then I'm like, and something pops up more kind of than other things. Because let's face it, there's millions of pieces of information every day that we're bombarded with. But, and we're thinking all kinds of things. But when I get a thought and it pops up, I'm like, okay, what's that? And then I'll work out the numbers on it, record it, remember it, and that's how I do it. And if I'm working things out mathematically in my head, which I can do, I can still feel the cogs. I'm a bit clunky, so I like to do it on the calculator and I'll double check it. So I wouldn't say I'm a maths like genius. I think my skill set is observing, intuiting and feeling things and connecting the dots on a number of things, but it's kind of effortless. It's a bit like when you're channeling, you know, it's just like I see you do it and you're like, oh, you're saying this, and it's just effortless, you know. And that's what it's like with me. The numbers, it comes through and I'm like, okay, this, and it's relatively easy for me because I just do it, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, because it feels like when I'm talking to, it feels like very like intuitive, like almost like you would have had past lives where you're like some type of, I don't know, quote unquote mathematician, but like a scientist sort of, if that makes sense. But it's because the way like, sorry, like I know you're supposed to interview me.
No, this is an exchange conversation. It's free flowing. Yeah.
I can just see that in you, like the way your mind works. It's a little bit like different, but in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Because I can see.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that about. Sorry,
you have a strong right brain.
I have a strong right brain. Yeah. And it's funny you say that because my dad, he's probably better at maths than I am, but he's also an artist, so he can do art, and I can art. I can draw and stuff, but it's just kind of latent talent. I don't really do much with it. But at school, I did study chemistry, physics, and biology at A level, and I always felt I would do something scientific, but that was just kind of a young, immature thought. And then when I got to university, I did psychology because I was more interested in the mind. But my passions and interests are always kind of outside the box. But I guess I have an artistic side as well. And I always felt that kind of science and art kind of marry up and they kind of meet somewhere in the middle, you know. But yeah, science is interesting. I think science, the word is 58, which is Nasara, which makes sense with all the patents, you know, that are going to come back. Well, they're going to be released, all the technology is going to come back, you know. So yeah,
interesting. Like when I went to nursing school and like when I worked as a nurse, it's supposed to be like very logical, or like a logical way to analyze things, so I did that. But it was like an intuitive thing where it's like you find the missing piece or you find the missing parts, and like that's what I feel like you're doing. So it's like, I don't know, great minds think alike, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I find this is an amazing time, because I didn't predict. I mean, I know we're all on our own kind of path and waking up and discovering things at different times or in the waking process, but I really didn't. Maybe looking back in hindsight, I probably always expected this, but maybe not in this kind of shape and form. I always hoped for this awakening, this millennial time, this age of Aquarius, but however you want to describe it, I always believed and hoped for that, but I wasn't seeing too much evidence of it. But when 2020 came in, I guess my gifts and intuition kind of just took a quantum leap, but accelerated, and it was really just kind of almost instant, really. And I guess I got a PhD in doing numbers within 3 weeks, you know. It kind of just kind of happened, you know. I didn't get taught it in a book, or someone didn't say, hey, have you noticed this, Tom? But I was getting influence from Princess Diana, from the Kennedys, from listening to President Trump every night, and I was just figuring it. I didn't even know what the 17th letter was until maybe a few weeks after, but I knew it was important. I figured it out, and I chose my name of my channel, Psych Club, for something else back in October of 2019, but I left the channel dormant. I just didn't post a video, and then for about 2 months, while the world is, you know, changed, and I'm figuring out numbers and the downloads are coming, I have to do a video, and I felt like that. I felt that quite strongly for the best part of maybe 6 to 7 weeks, 8 weeks. And then I did, maybe it was a month, but I did it kind of the 3rd week of May. And then I figured out later that my channel, Psych Club, when you do the numbers on it, come to the word 17. And they also come to the word Diana Spencer. And she was probably the first feeling of channeling I was getting, because I looked up her funeral service, and they left a marker because it said the service started at 9:08 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, 9:08, that's weird. It should be 9 o'clock, 9:30, maybe 9:15, maybe 9:20 at a push, but not a kind of off kilter number, 9:08. And I was like, 9:08, 9 plus 8, what's that? That's 17. Okay.
Yeah.
What's 17th letter of the alphabet? Oh, okay, so that's that. Okay. And then I figured out, a few weeks, maybe a month or two later, what the drops were, what the posts were. I didn't know that. So it all kind of came a little bit backwards to me, like kind of reversed. It came to me, and then I figured out, this is what these things mean. But lo and behold, Psych Club, Diana Spencer, Zapruder, the Kennedy film, they all equal 109, which comes to the word 17. So it was all kind of meant to be,
Interesting.
So, yeah.
It's funny, like, how the universe works like that. I mean, my awakening, like, was, I guess relatively recent, like a few years, but luckily, like, I wasn't, like, I haven't been on this planet long enough to, like, realize how bad it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was a nurse. I worked as a nurse and graduated nursing school, started working as a nurse, and then my awakening started. And I really didn't, like, a lot of the information I got, I didn't look like around online. I just was basically like, I actually went through a period, like when I first started to wake up, where I deleted like all of my like social medias. I didn't watch TV. I didn't even, like, I listened to some music, but not really. And like, I purposely did that because I wanted to strengthen like my inner spirit and like my connection to my higher power. And that's when, like, I really, and that's when my contact with Valnick really started again. And I started to get downloads and information from him, and like what people would perceive as my star family. And I remember he told me, like, I had a friend who owned a crystal shop who was really into the Patriot movement. And, he was talking about the letter 17 and Donald Trump and retweeting it. So I asked Valnick, I was like, what's with this letter 17? Because I wasn't like really into everything, but I did know some of the stuff was going on, because I think that was like a little bit before And Valnick said it's the extraterrestrials and the US Navy and the US military. And I was like, oh, like, that's not, like, I was like, oh, cool. I didn't realize like what a big deal it was at the time, or like what a big deal it still is. But yeah, that's kind of how it was for me too. It was very quick and like more of like a jolt, which I think I kind of prefer it that way. Like, that's kind of my personality, is like do or die.
Same here. I'd rather get on or off.
Yeah, on with it. Yeah, exactly.
Did you feel as well when it happened for you? Did you feel, because I know I did. I mean, it's been a kind of education in time and timelines, and I was getting all this information. I'm like, it's happening yesterday. It's now, and it's like I didn't honestly feel that we'd be over 2 years into it. I just, because I felt like I could see everything, and I'm like, this is now, and I was getting signs and everything. It was, 100 times a day I'm walking around and getting things, and I'm like, oh, there's that and that, and I'm seeing it, and it's like imminent, So I didn't expect us to be this further down, So I guess I had to kind of recalibrate and adjust my expectations, and I thought it'd be immediate, So.
Yeah, like things would happen sooner than they were. I mean, I think like when people realize, I think one of the parts that people are like missing is that our planet was invaded by malevolent extraterrestrials, and we've had to have off-world help because they purposely suppressed our technology, and so that we can't fight them. And they basically overtook our government and overtook our military, parts of our military. And so that was part of the problem, is them cleaning out, getting help from the Galactic Federation and off-worlders to help clear out these malevolent extraterrestrials. And you also have components like other planets like Mars and the moon that have to be cleared out, and they have to be done, it had to be done in like a safe way, you know, military strategy so that everything is safe and works, and to be done slowly, because these people also will like blow up the entire planet. You know, they don't care. They don't care. So I think it's a lot bigger than people have realized, that we've been, you know, when Donald Trump says drain the swamp, what's in the swamp is reptiles, right? So he's talking about reptilians, you know. So I wish it would have been done sooner, but I think also, you know, a lot of people like need time, and there's a lot of people who are awakened, maybe they're awakened to the truther movement, but really what I would encourage people to do is get in touch like with your soul, like get in touch with your inner compass, because a lot of people like will watch shows like you and I are doing and feel like it's maybe doing something for them, and it is, but we can only help people by speaking like so much. Like the work has to be done with yourself, and unfortunately, like we've been programmed to be slaves. They wanted to take us over to be slaves. That's what the whole thing is. The changing the DNA, the mind control frequencies, they were training us to be slaves, and so we're trying to break out of that programming. And the only way you can do it is to take back your own sovereignty. That's why when I first started to wake up, like Valnak was like, you know, everything is a lie, like the TV, everything. I was like, fuck. You know? So I turned off everything, and I didn't trust, you know, there were people talking and doing shows in alternative media, but I didn't trust anyone, because how do I know that's the truth if I don't know myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You talk about the DNA. So I'm trying to find this video. I saw, what's her name? Naira Nuru. Have you heard that name? So I saw a video. I saw it. She doesn't really do anything now, but she was one of the kind of truthers that had a channel early 2020. And I was just, you know, figuring stuff out, doing numbers and trying to, you know, see what was going on. But she left this, and it's subsequently been removed. But there was a video that basically explained what you've just talked about how well being infiltrated and invaded by, you know, for want of a better word, an alien race, a reptilian race. I think as well there could be good reptiles. I think I feel that, but I don't know really enough about them. But I feel there could be, you know, as with all things, there could be good and dark on both sides. But then the video went into this thing about changing of the DNA. Something about it just kind of really resonated with me. The way the film was done, I was like, I was like, holy fuck, I'd never really kind of heard that kind of concept consciously. But it just seemed to stick with me, and it just seemed to make sense. And then I didn't really hear or see much else on it. But the things that you just said there has made me think about what I saw over 2 years ago. And I'm trying, if someone knows the video I'm on about, please share it, because I don't know where it is. I don't know who made that video, because she basically did her show and then she bolted the end of that video, that video clip on the end of her show, and that's been taken off now. So I don't know who made it, but it just seemed to resonate and make sense. And I was like, wow, what the heck's that? But it kind of, it left an impression upon me, you know. What are the plans, or is this happening? Is it a gradual process? I'm assuming if they changed our DNA will have to be changed back. Is that logical to think that, or is there something else in the works with that?
I don't know like how they will be able to fix it. I don't know. I hope there is a plan. I do know that a lot of them were saline, that they were like not all of them. So I do know that, but the plans to change the DNA, and it had to be done over a period of time. If plans to do it very quickly, it's because your DNA, like my DNA, your DNA, like all resonates at a certain frequency.
Okay.
So changing the DNA changes it to a certain frequency that is compatible with the mind control technology. It makes the brain easier to control. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but I hope there's plans, that there's ways to heal it. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Yeah. I guess
I
we'll
think
just
that
kind of,
there will be, but it's not time to reveal it yet.
okay. Yeah, I hope so, because it makes, like, maybe this is an interesting question. So before our DNA was changed, when our DNA was, I guess, for want of a better phrase, whole and intact and kind of perfect, what were the capabilities that we had with our 100% DNA, like our pure DNA?
Well, I think like we all have like latent or junk DNA, right? Or like that's what we've called it on this planet, like
Okay.
science. And as you go through your spiritual awakening, you have different bodies. So your light body or your soul will start to raise in frequency, and that starts to activate your DNA, right?
Okay.
That's why when you see people who go through a spiritual awakening, all of a sudden they're intuitive, they're getting downloads, they have psychic impressions and stuff, because you're activating that part of your DNA, and you're also activating certain parts of the brain. So they don't like people who are able to see past the BS, or who quote unquote have their third eye open, or are using those parts of the brain, right? It's all about mind control. So that's kind of the reason why. But we all really have those abilities. Every human like has the ability to communicate telepathically. They've messed with DNA using all kinds of stuff, chemicals. I find it interesting that, say, a lot of maybe star seeds or people from different places or people who have extra capabilities are coming to this place to help, and they're all being born here, and all of a sudden we have this problem, right? It's like, it's a war. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. What do you think? You talked about, you mentioned starseeds, and a few minutes ago, did you say star family? Is that the correct phrase you used, or did you say something else? Yeah, star family. So, like, and you talked about telepathy as well. So that's one of the things. So I've experienced probably 5, maybe 6 phenomena in the last 2 years that I wasn't aware of. I hoped about them, because I'm a big, I'm a big superhero movie buff, and I've always dreamed of the impossible and realized that they are possible. And I've experienced small kind of examples of this. Maybe they're not too small, but I've experienced different things, and I'm excited to see and experience other things. And telepathy is one of them. And I've had people come along to me and kind of show, hey, Tom, I can do telepathy. They already told me, but they have. I'm like, this is another person that can do this, So I've experienced it, whereas I never really kind of experienced it before. I get connections with my brother, we'll kind of text each other at the same time, and we'll call it the game, that sort of stuff. But actually having someone kind of come along to you and start to, I get it sometimes in the interviews I'm doing with people, and I'm like, okay, the audience is probably not aware of what's going on, but I'm getting I'm getting a pickup on that they're saying stuff to me, or they're knowing what I'm about to say. And I think perhaps maybe from both sides, but even if it's maybe not from the purest of point of views, it's almost like a controlled exposure. It's a controlled example of what's possible. And so I feel all the things that I've been privy to see and hear and learn and intuit and understand and experience, and I'm not totally 100% sure on the intention of everybody, but even when I feel that maybe it's not, I do feel that I'm protected, and it's like okay, well, we're going to show you this, Tom, and you don't need to worry about it, but it's there and it exists. But telepathy is definitely one of them that I've experienced from quite a few people. And I'm like, how are you doing that?
I think we emailed back and forth a couple of times, and I was like, oh, I was just thinking of you, or like that happens when people are on the same vibe, or like frequency. It's the psychic impressions, the clairvoyance. It's like very subtle. It can be subtle, and I think we can be tampered with by the governments using AI or artificial intelligence and stuff like that. If it feels very strong, like a strong energy, I would like really be the observer of that energy if you start to get information like that way, because it can feel more like, I don't know, being controlled or controlling.
Right.
because the good energy, the high vibes, or even just somebody else's energy, it's more subtle, or it just feels like it's there, but it's not invading your space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
Not a space invader. Like frog, like a computer game. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. And if there's a respect to it, like if it's more subtle, but they're putting it out, and you feel you just need your space, they can respect that. Whereas if it becomes too much and over, then it's like that's forceful, and then it's So I know what you mean about that, because I've experienced at least both versions of that. Yeah.
I gave this example, like I just did live readings like an hour ago, and somebody asked me this question: how to tell the difference between a negative entity or like a benevolent entity. And it's just like here, like if you're hanging out with your best friend, like best in the whole world, you're comfortable, it's fine, like you're enjoying each other's company, versus hanging out with someone who is saying they're your friend, your best friend, but they're not. They're like a secret backstabber. Like if you imagine sitting next to one or the other and imagining the difference in your mind, but you can't see them, that's the difference of the energy, if that makes sense. So it's really like a lot how we perceive energy here. We're just not doing it with two eyes. We're doing it from inside.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's so true, because I mean where we're at with what, the things that we're discovering and doing, and there's so many things happening and so many things shifting, and sometimes I'll just get a feeling about something and I can't really even articulate what it is, but I feel it, and I'm just going to go with that feeling, and then kind of a little bit further down the line, I'm like, oh, okay, that hunch, that feeling was, proved to be correct. Or maybe sometimes it doesn't, it just deflects and they go off and I kind of forget about it. But sometimes I can't just put it together, but I feel it,
What kills me sometimes is when I don't listen to my intuition, and then like something like maybe like bad happens and you're like, oh God, I was right the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's how you learn, right? That's how you learn, like when you're in tune and when to listen and not, like have you ever had like met someone and there's like red flags right away, but you're like, nah, and then like you end up going through something and then it's like, I knew it. Like like when I met you. Yeah,
I have definitely. And so I'm kind of, and I don't always, but I'm trying to, I feel even just to, I guess it feels a little easier to go with those hunches kind of the further we go into the game with it, it's like, I don't know what that is, but I feel something, so I'm just going to kind of just veer away, and I'm open to, I'm open and I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and that's my natural disposition. But I'm also getting used to like, okay, don't know what it is, but I'm just gonna say pass on this one,
I feel like the audience like might have this question, like how to discern like what's true or what's not in the truther movement. And like, so psychological operations will always like, they will give you truth and then they'll twist it, right? Like, so they'll mix untruth and not truth. But I think like predicting dates, like the Alliance, the military, the Galactic Federation, they don't give out really timetables or dates, right? And if they do, it might be disinformation, because they're not going to let the enemy know, like, hey, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like they'll turn things into kind of a soap opera, so to distract. So like with the letter 17, you had the mainstream media rejecting it or making people who believed it sound like they're crazy, right? But then the 3-letter agencies infiltrated it online and within the own movements, like the truther movement, not the actual letter 17, but the truther movement. So like stuff like Princess dies at the White House, she's married to Donald Trump, or like Elvis is Donald Trump's brother, like that kind of stuff, which even if that were true, what does that mean for us as a humanity, right? Does that help us liberate ourselves? Does that help us free ourselves? Not really. It's just soap opera drama, right? A lot like the 3-letter agencies have done with Hollywood. So they distract with all their personal lives and their personal life crap, that kind of stuff. It's the same, it's like the same program, and it distracts you from the real information, and it discredits the real information, right? Because if you believe that, then that means the whole thing is BS, right? So
what do you think about, sorry, go on.
I said that's kind of like my logical perspective, and then like the intuition is something that can be kind of like developed personally, and do what, go with what resonates with you.
What do you think, Megan, about, because I hear of like in the truther movement, and I don't know if the audience are aware, I think they are, because some of them do it publicly, and that's just not my style. So when you see kind of in fight bickering between different truthers, I feel just on the surface that's kind of distraction as well, because I don't like that in my own normal life, so I definitely not going to get into that with someone online. It's just not my style, but I feel that just distracts everybody as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had like my fair share of like, that happening to me. But let's go back to the message, which is where we go one, we go all.
Yeah.
So we're looking like, if you're repping where we go one, we go all, but you're attacking other people.
Exactly.
And the people, the entities, the negative energy, the 3-letter agencies that inspire that kind of behavior, they're looking at us like, gotcha, they're laughing at us. So I don't subscribe to that at all. Even if I have my own opinion of whether someone's telling the truth or not, that is still valuable, because it teaches us as a collective discernment. So you shouldn't ever silence someone's free speech, even if it's a lie, because it teaches you to be strong. And how do you know what the truth is if you haven't ever heard a lie? Do you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter if someone is online telling a bunch of crazy stuff. Remove your energy from that person and just focus your energy on putting your own message out there, because it's a distraction really for you. If you're using your platform to trash somebody else, that takes away from your own message. And if you're not a disinformation agent, like if you really are connected to the Galactic Federation, to these higher beings, to the Alliance, and nothing can stop what is coming, then who cares?
Exactly.
It's all good. But I mean, and it's important to note that the darkness always accuses people of what they are in fact doing themselves. So sometimes when people are attacking other people, it's a projection, right? And it kind of gives me a little bit of a headache, if I'm just being honest, because this is like kindergarten manners, right? Like, I'm rubber, you are glue, whatever you say to me bounces off and sticks to you, so, and we need to just come together and move past that. I want to kick these bad guys out and live a peaceful life, and I want to connect with people that want that too. So
100%. I totally agree, because there's plenty of work to do without all of that stuff. It just seems to get in the way. And like you say, kindergarten, that's a good way to describe it. Totally. I've been refreshed on some numbers I've done before, and I just double checked them. So Galactic Federation, Federation is 97, and Megan Rose is 97 as well. So that's cool. So because Megan is 40 and US is 40, RV is 40, Rose, as we said earlier, is 57, which is moon, because we've got the strawberry moon tonight. Tesla 57. George, hello George. England as well, where I live, is also 57. My grandparents' last name Wood, they're a big part of the numbers for me personally, but that's also 57. But Galactic is 56, which is light. And so even, I might be saying this incorrectly, but I've heard the phrase, Galactic Federation of Light, but Galactic and light are both synonymous, 56, which is also healing, 56. I'll have to give a shout out to the Netherlands, because I figured when I was there that the word Dutch is also 56, so they like that, it's healing. The Galactic Federation comes to 153, which actually comes to the phrase happy birthday, and it's President Trump's birthday today.
Wow.
When people watch it, it will be a few days later. But and also, this is an interesting one. So a Black Swan event is 153. Galactic Federation is 153. So in different circles we hear that, you know, that there's going to be this event, and some say maybe a black swan event, something that's kind of just once in a lifetime. I mean, I think early 2020 was an event like that, but I'm feeling if we're going to change and bring everything back how we want, I think it feels like it could be a galactic, well, it could be a black swan event, and Galactic Federation is 153. A black swan event is 153. So maybe that will be, I don't know, you might have some more thoughts on that, like kind of, I don't know, but the numbers add up. So I just like, you know, I'm curious about that.
When you say a black swan event, do you mean near death event?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, maybe that's, I was thinking more along the lines of something kind of just almost literally out of this world, just something that is so kind of unique and strange and magnificent. But yeah, maybe a near-death experience. I mean, 107 says that a lot, you know, a near-death experience. So that could maybe come in the same category. Yeah.
Gas is like $5 a gallon. I think I'm in. Like, I hope we're in.
We're in it. Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but I know. Okay, so for them,
what did it used to be? Just to give the UK kind of a comparison, what did it used to be?
I think like when Trump was president, it was like $1.99 at one point.
Okay.
Like $2.20, $2.30, and now it's like $5 a gallon. Like we're paying twice as much, if not more, in most states.
And is California kind of double that? Is that like 9 or 10 over there?
I haven't seen recently because I don't live in Cali, but I think it's even more. Like I've seen like $9.
Wow.
On Telegram, people posting like videos on Telegram.
Yeah.
So, but they're waiting for us to rise to the occasion.
Okay.
So we have to recognize, we have to raise our consciousness, because the problem is when you're in contact with a higher energy and it brings out all of your pain and trauma and wounds, like we would be projecting ourselves onto them.
Yeah.
And like a lot of us like haven't met our own demons. Like we might even think that they're demons because we're seeing ourselves in them. Does that make sense?
The mirror.
It's like, the mirror effect. So they're waiting for us to rise to the occasion. And a lot of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed aliens are extremely attractive. They're so loving. The potential for the human race to worship them and idolize them is extremely high. So we have to recognize that we're cool. You know, like we're pretty cool too, and that we're equals. And like that's really important for people to know that if you know you're a starseed, if you know you're an extraterrestrial, no one came here to present themselves as like we're cooler than the humans. That wasn't the mission. It's to remind them that they're just like us. We're a family, right? Where we go when we go up. But I know they're not planning on making contact to awaken us, because that would interfere with our free will. It's through our own choice that we awaken ourselves, right? Now, I know people have talked about Project Bluebeam or like the Cabal, like staging an event like that. This is something like, this is interesting because I remember asking about this last year, because this came onto platforms last year as people talking about Project Bluebeam, and it's like people get really scared, right? I think that wouldn't, and the information I got last year is that they don't have the money or the resources to make that happen. And then it comes back again, the idea comes back again this year. So I think that might be like disinformation. It's like they're using a psyop within a psyop. Like the plan's not going to work, but we're still going to make the idea of it, like spread it around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's going to happen either. So if it did, I don't think it would work, you know?
What, you mean an event using Project Bluebeam?
Right. Yeah. From the Cabal. Yeah.
Okay.
Scare us. Like there's an idea that they're going to stage an alien invasion to try and control us. And, you know.
Do you think that perhaps the White Hats could use, maybe, I mean, if the White Hats are in control, and I believe they are, and I don't know if it's full, I'm always an optimist, so I feel that they're fully in control and letting things kind of play out, but I also accept that maybe that isn't the case. I don't know. But do you think that maybe, well, I'm just wondering, do you think it might be possible that perhaps the White Hats may use something like Project Bluebeam for a good purpose, for them to be the ones kind of staging an event or some kind of truth revealed through that. Is that any thoughts on that, or do you think that might be possible, or is it
like to use technology to fool us into thinking something? Like
maybe not to fool us. Well, that's a good question actually. I wouldn't like to feel that being fooled, but maybe just to reveal truth, maybe through a way that would wake people up in a real kind of obvious and non kind of negotiable way, but in a really spectacular, magical way. So if the Project Bluebeam is able to be used to fake an alien invasion, and if that's not going to be the case because the dark hats can't use that now, I'm wondering, could the white hats, could the Alliance, could the Galactic Federation, could they use that in a powerful, positive way to share truth with humanity in a simultaneous way? I'm wondering, maybe, I don't know, but I'm wondering if that might.
I don't think they would use it for disclosure. I feel like that would interfere with our free will. Like it would interfere with us too much. I think like the idea of, and I don't know if this will really happen, like the idea of presenting like all of the wrongdoings like in the world that the black hats have doing, I think those are facts, those are events that actually happened, and presenting the truth to presenting information from someone and then allowing them to choose with it what they will. Like I think that's, but if it depends on the intention. If it's done with the intention of manipulation, I don't think that would, that would work. And the Federation only has so many ways like that they'll assist the Alliance because they're extraterrestrials and they don't want to interfere with our civilization more than they have to. Like or at all, really. It's the reason that they're here and they intervened is because at planet Earth we're considered a less evolved or less able society to defend ourselves. And if that happens in the interest of balance, they're obligated to intervene or assess the situation. Because if the malevolent ETs took over the moon, the Earth, and Mars, it would affect the rest of the galaxy. So that's why I love the phrase, where we go one, we go all, because it's like everyone, galactic, it's like ride or die. Like if Earth doesn't make it, like we're
they're screwed as well.
And we will, but it's like even the ETs were like, we need to do that. It's worth it to them. And they are real people who have real bodies, who have real families. They're putting their lives on the line too. We just can't see them. They're in a different place, but they have they're real people.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting, the whole thing of going back briefly to the disclosure. I'm wondering if like an emergency broadcast could perhaps be used with, say, something like Project Bluebeam under a white hat control. So I wonder if that might be an option, because maybe they could do something in the sky. I mean, there is a thing in Q when it says sky event, and I wonder what sky event is. The numbers on sky event comes to 121, which comes to Golden Jubilee, comes to Second Coming, and it also comes to the word revelation. And a lot of, from a kind of religious, and maybe whether the Bible is as it is or it's not or whatever, but the Bible, there's the thing of Book of Revelation and the last days and the end times. The sky event is revelation, and I'm wondering, that would be pretty. Maybe if everyone's supposed to get that kind of red pill of disclosure at the same time, where people can't deny that it has taken place, maybe that's one way. I don't know it, but it has crossed my mind. So, and you said as well the phrase "where we go one, where we go all." So if you do the WW, where we G1A, is that right? Yeah, where we go one, we go all. I've missed out a W, but that phrase, when you see just the letters and the one, that comes to 85, which comes to storm, comes to awakening, comes to silver, and it also comes to implant. And I know when you've mentioned about implant, I was like, that's interesting. So where we go one, we go all, and there was something else I was going to say with that. What was it? It's popped out of my head. It will come back. I can't remember what it was now. But yeah, the Federation. What were we talking about before? We were talking about Project Bluebeam. That was another thing you said just after that. What was it?
I don't know. I think that disclosure, like extraterrestrial disclosure, will be done like slowly. You know,
I've got it. I know what it was. I've got it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when you said about the aliens, the blue-eyed aliens, and they're very kind of attractive. So I went to a rally in London about a month ago, and I've seen, so I mentioned there's been these kind of 5 or 6 things that I've noticed in the last 2 years that I didn't know were possible. I hope they were, but I didn't know. One of them, I've seen lights in the sky kind of winking, and I've, you know, I hadn't seen ships before, but I believe I have now on a couple of occasions in Arizona particularly. But I was at this rally event about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've got to say I met 3 people, and there was something kind of alien, off-worldy about them in their eyes. And these guys, they were 3 guys. This is the strange. It was 3 guys, and they were all kind of friends. Well, 2 of them were friends, and then there was another one that they were associated with. But when I was in their presence, I'm like, the feeling I got was like, "You're an alien." I was like, "You're an alien," you know, because their eyes were super, and they were kind of more the kind of quote unquote kind of hippie type. They were just there, kind of there doing their thing, and they were nice people, and they were very kind of just, you know, they weren't in your face, they were just there. But I was like, their eyes were mesmeric. I'm like, that's not normal. That's like really something. And I was like, I think they're showing me. And then they were a little bit later down at Parliament Square. So there was, you know, a bunch of us there, and it was all kind of just very just easy and relaxing. And then they introduced me to another of their friends. The other one looked up, and it was this guy. I'm like, he's another one, because his eyes were just piercing blue, and I'd not really experienced that before. And then there was another guy that was kind of with them, and he kind of introduced himself, and I'm like, that's another one. There's like 3 of them, and it was almost like, did you get this, Tom? We're just going to show you another one. Did you catch that? And did you get that? And I'm like, and it was so subtle, but really just quite remarkable as well. And I'm like, oh wow, I think that's what they are, you know. And a lot of people might think, well, what on earth is Tom on about? And I some will get it and some won't, but I was like, I think that's what they were. I particularly the second one, because it was so kind of subtle. But they said, oh, Tom, this is such and such. I don't even remember the guy's name, but I was like, he's another one. And it was just pure piercing blue eyes, and they were just casual, kind of hippie, easy, relaxed guys. And I'm like, that's off-world. There was something about the 3 of them that was just really quite distinct and subtle, but nevertheless very what's the word? Very powerful, really. Yeah, very distinct, very remarkable. Maybe that's the word I'm trying to think of. Because it was really. So when you said that about the blue eye, maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, because I think I've at least met 3 of them in a very close proximity to each other, and in an area that I wouldn't have suspected. But it makes sense. But it was like, wow, that's really cool. Very cool. Yeah.
They may have had extraterrestrial DNA, like hybrids. If you are a soul that came from a different place and you incarnated here, from my experience, you'll have your DNA altered. Because remember how I said, like, about frequencies, like the soul, and it's kind of like a quantum thing. It's like the shape, the frequency, like your soul, the matrix of it has a certain frequency, and so the DNA has to be slightly changed so that you can mesh with the body. Does that make sense?
They
may have actually been hybrids, and maybe they don't even know, maybe they do, but they may have had their DNA changed just slightly, you know.
That makes sense, because it was to kind of fit in the body that they were in, but then it was like the clue was in the eyes, you know. It's like, oh wow, okay,
like high cheekbones, sharp features, big eyes, that kind of thing is like the like Pleiadian genetics kind of, but the Nordics, as some people call them. But even the bad guys, the malevolent ETs, this is where you get keeping things in the family kind of thing, like reptilian genetics, like making sure a certain soul can incarnate into a body over and over again, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's all about, you have to change the DNA and the soul and how it incarnates here. And it's not like that really on other places, but on planet Earth, we've been kind of like experimented on. So yeah. Yeah, it's a little different. And you know, you may be one too, who knows. This is the thing too, that I feel maybe there's been like a disservice, or maybe people don't know this, or like I feel this needs to be said. There are literally thousands of incarnated extraterrestrials on this planet. So just because somebody awakens to their true nature before somebody, it doesn't mean that you're on a pedestal up here. You're responsible for awakening, or you are in charge, or you're like an ambassador, or like some type of, I think, I'm just my opinion, weird label above people. Because you literally came here with thousands of people, and the idea of before you came here is like, we're going to help each other, like we're a team, we can do this together. It's not one person was singled out being like, hey, you're the leader. We're all the leaders, you know. That's why I love that phrase, where we go one, we go all, right? Coming from some place, where we go one, we go all, we're all here together. So just because I have a platform, or I wrote some book, or like I'm some psychic person, it doesn't mean that like you're not an ET too, and you're not just as powerful as I am. And the only way to get us out of this mess is to help inspire other people by being yourself, but being humble and waking up. Like, we're stronger in numbers, and there can't be a hierarchy, because we're all equal. And that's what source is. We're all from source, right? So to be able to like activate your energy, help inspire other people, help us all live in alignment with source as equals, that is a much more powerful source than getting up on a platform and saying, hey, I'm an ET, or I'm some psychic channeler. And I think sometimes the ego can get in the way of like, look, like there's thousands, like hundreds of thousands of people, you know. So they just need to be reminded of who they are, and then we can like kick ass together. Like, can you imagine like coming here before you're born, and like it's like, okay, you're gonna be like one of 5. Like, hell no, I'm not going there with only 5 of 10 of us, 100. No, I'm not doing that. Like, there's got to be thousands of us, you know. So like, I feel like I want to remind people of that energy. Like, we're all like, there's thousands of us, you know. It's interesting to say that about the whole thing of not above and where we go when we go, because Bev Trout, she's ufologist I've done some videos with, and she says don't deify and don't demonize, just kind of, you know, accept it as it is. And also as well, when you're saying about no, I don't obviously get to see all of your videos, Megan. I've seen a number, but have you said, and you don't have to answer it, have you ever indicated like that you're from, or you're clear that you're from another planet, or have you said like where you believe you're from before, or is that kind of private? What we would know as the Pleiades. I think I've said that in like one other interview, but
I thought that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure, so I thought I'll just ask you, you know. So
but the mission is to be human, right? It's not to be like, I'm alien, I'm from a different planet, right? Because we're trying to rise up, like the human race is trying to rise up, right? And like, people who are from different planets, like in space, they don't go to a different planet and be like, hey, I'm from over there, you know. Like, like aliens aren't cool.
Hey, check it out. Hey, check it out. I'm from over there.
It's not cool to be aliens, because they all know, right? And it's just, we don't know. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like an idolization thing, but it's normal. It's the thing, you know. It's like, you don't go to Italy and be like I want to go to Italy and be like, hey, I'm from the United States. Like, listen to what I have to say.
That's it. And when in Rome, do as Rome. Yeah, do it. When in Rome, do as in Rome. I'm misquoting it, but
oh, that's perfect. Yeah, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
it. Yeah. So would you? So with the and that's one of my favorite constellations, because I always knew where Orion was. I'd look at Taurus the Bull, pointing to the Seven Sisters, and it was always fun because you could, or the Pleiades, and you couldn't see it, but if you looked slightly to the side of it, you could kind of see it clearer. It was just one of those unique clusters. And I've been looking at the possibility, and I thought maybe it was from there. And I was thinking maybe Andromeda or maybe the Cassiopeians. I don't know. I'm open to whatever. But do you feel kind of mixed as a human as well, or purely Pleiadian, but on a mission to mingle in humanity and to help raise the consciousness and vibration?
I wouldn't even like limit myself like to a label. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like to limit myself like that, because I am all of it, you know.
Got it. Yeah. Got it.
I'm me now, I'm me there. And this is just a body anyways, and that's just a body over there, you know.
Yeah.
It's not I posted this on Telegram. I was like, don't be a label, be a vibe.
There you go.
I want to be a vibe.
Yeah. Well, you are a vibe. That makes sense. Another thing as well is, so the whole thing of UFOs is becoming more, I guess, of a thing I'm becoming more and more aware of and interested in, and the reality of that. And like I said, I've seen ships, well, I've seen lights in the sky just slowly blinking off and coming back on, and then others just switching off. And so they were like kind of personal markers, I believe. But do you feel that you talked about thousands of aliens coming to Earth and doing what they have to do. Is it always that they're born, or are some kind of coming maybe as an adult and then just kind of, okay, we're on it now, I'm human, I'm ready for the mission, I'm doing my thing? Is that a possibility as well, or does everyone come through, the birth process and kind of grow up and discover it themselves as they go along? Or do you sometimes just get not special, that's the wrong word, do you get groups that will just, okay, here we go, we're ready, and they kind of just hit the ground running effectively?
The bodies that they're in, like their extraterrestrial bodies from a different density or dimension, wouldn't be able to survive like on this planet, like the environment for a long, like without technology or like an environmental suit. So I don't think so. Like, I don't know everything, but I don't think so. I think they have to be born like through. Yeah. Okay,
cool. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think that's been great. I think we should wrap up for today, but it's been really fun, Megan.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's been a pleasure. And again, everyone go to Megan's channel, check out her YouTube and her website and her book. And let's do this again in the maybe not too distant future, maybe a few weeks, a month or so down the line. If that's cool. I hope people will really enjoy it today. I've enjoyed it. It's been really good.
I have too. Yeah, I'm so glad. So thank you.
Well, thank you as well. You're welcome. All right, Megan, God bless you. Keep safe, keep well, keep doing what you're doing. And I'll see you again in the future.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Thanks, Megan. Cheers. Bye.